Zachary Horvath. I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him a lot. He was very selfless, very inviting, very loud, very annoying. But you put up with him because he means a lot more than every one of those words I just said. And I can honestly say I wouldn't be where I am in my life without him. You know, I wouldn't be where I am in my life without a lot of these people in this room, but without you, I wouldn't have the career that I have. You got me that job at Caesar's Palace back in 2010 as a pool host, and that was my foot in the door. You know, I met everybody I know this day because of what he gave me. You know, and it introduced me to the casino life. It introduced me to a lot of the people that have helped me get to where I am today, and I thank you for that. You know, for the rest of my life, I will thank you for that. And yeah, I'm gonna miss all the exciting adventures we had, all the comic book adventures we had every Sunday, you know, driving out to all the stores in town, all 15 of them, and just trying to find what we wanted, but just spending time with you talking about everything was what meant the most to me, and I'm gonna miss him a lot. I would say getting me that interview at Caesar's Palace, like I'm a dealer right now at the Link. Next month I'm going to Planet Hollywood, and you know, that's not even the last stop on my trip. You know, I'm going to be a casino manager someday, and I wouldn't be that without the interview that he got me. You know, he got me an interview with one of the sorority girls that worked at Caesar's Palace, and she said, "Oh, you know Zach Horvath? That's not necessarily a good thing, but we'll give you a shot." So that's the biggest impact he had on me, was the fact that the rest of my life has played out because of what he did for me back in 2010. Just that simple little, hey, give this guy an interview. You know, the rest of my life because of that.
I met Zach about 6 years ago, working at 9 Steakhouse in Chateau Palms. Working with that guy was the best experience I ever had at the steakhouse. He was always there, everything we needed. He made everybody laugh. He had jokes. Just a great guy. I just can't believe he's gone. So most of the time, even for Thanksgiving, Christmas, I used to spend most of the time with him and the family at work. We have dinner together, you know, go out together, go to the bar. We called him the Keno guy because he was always on Keno, making money out of Keno. So it was just a great experience, you know, working with Zach. It was always positive. Even when I was a little negative most of the time because of the things I had going on around me, he always made me keep my head up, you know. He was always there, and he was always positive, telling me that everything was gonna be okay. He was always very supportive, though, and you know, like if it wasn't for him spending a lot of time and telling me all the things that, you know, he was telling me, it would have been a different story, though. But I'm gonna miss you, Zach. 100%. Is a great guy.
I moved to Las Vegas in fall of 2009. He'd already been here for a year, I believe. And so when I pledged the fraternity, I started gravitating towards him and Jordan Lown, and I started hanging out with them a lot. And so we became really good friends from there on. And I lived with them for a brief time at the Delta Sky house that we had. But he was always a great time. We were always up to shenanigans for sure. Well, I think it was right after Thanksgiving, and our brother Jordan was he was coming back into town from holidays, and we were supposed to go pick him up from the airport, but we got a little bit too partying too early. So me and Horvath came up with the idea of, we decided we'll just go get a limo and we'll go pick up Jordan and we'll go on the town to make up for being irresponsible. So we did, and we had a couple of other friends, so that was one of the great nights. But we had so many nights of just hanging out, just partying, and just, you know, either going bowling or drinking or dinner or just wrestling or anywhere. Well, for the few years that I was living here in Vegas, I had some rough times with, you know, someone else, and him and Jordan's house was always open for me. You know, and just to hang out. There was always accommodating, even when I was probably cumbersome. That's just how they were. That's how Zach was, and he's just a great friend and a great brother. And I since I found out of his passing, I can't think of one time where I've been in an argument with him or some negative emotion towards him. He was always just full of life, and so to hear about him passing is devastating to so many of us.
I had the pleasure of meeting Zach when he was 17 years old. This Zach and I recruited him for our fraternity. And we actually did it over Facebook for a majority of the summer of 2008, so we got to know him pretty good before we actually met him. It was kind of awkward when we actually did meet him because he was about 110 pounds soaking wet. He had a haircut that looked like he was a member of the Beatles, and he enjoyed 90s dance music. He struck us as a good kid, and over time he displayed many positive character traits. He never turned anybody down. He always obliged to help people, sometimes to the point of being taken advantage of. And perhaps his greatest feat of all, he enjoyed being the butt of every joke. Usually when someone hears their last name yelled, preceded by "God damn it," it's not a good thing. However, Zach took it with pride. I'm honored today to have known Zach for the last 9+ years. I had the honor of having him as a groomsman at my wedding. At the time, it was a last-minute decision to have him in there, but with each day that passed, I knew I had made the right decision. He was there for my wife and I through every step, through every time of hardship, and he never asked for anything in return. My only regret is not recognizing what more I could have done for him. And as I stand here in front of all these people, Zach, I know you're watching us from above, and I'd like you to know that you'll always have a special place in my heart.
Like Andrew said, I helped bring him out here to Las Vegas. We gave him a nice warm welcome when we met him. Just one of the most charismatic human beings I've ever met. Never asked for anything in return, just like Andrew said. Oftentimes I felt like he got taken advantage of as well. And he was just a beautiful, beautiful person. He made everybody laugh with that infectious laughter he had. All the inside jokes that we shared. Every single time we heard, "God damn it, Horvath," we were like, whoa, what? What did I do? all the things that we would do late night, watch movies, watch music and lyrics, go over the dance moves, the soldier boy, he would call it. I just have countless memories, and I have countless memories with all of you too as well, which makes it special, makes it even that much more better because it ties us all together. And that's what he did. He tied all of us together. That's why we're all in this room here. And he's touched so many people over the course of his life, however brief it was. But I know that heaven has another angel there, and he's looking down on all of us. And He's changed my life for the better, and I feel like when he left, peace and me left too, but I know that he'll always be with me, and I love him. God damn it, Horvath.
Hey everybody, just want to share a quick memory, and I've got a few people here for it. So as part of the fraternity of Delta Chi, we dealt with a lot of philanthropy events. And there was this one particular one for the AGD sorority where we were doing like a music competition, so basically lip syncing certain bands. And so we ended up deciding we were going to do Queen. And so we had Landon out here as Freddie Mercury. I was like a bassist, we had a couple other brothers, we were like band members. For Zach, and he didn't protest to this at all, but we made him dress in drag. Basically as a cheerleader, and he just go walk around us, and it was very uncomfortable. But like has been mentioned, Zach always had a way of just smiling at anything and never backing off from a challenge or a favor. And like you said, he never asked for anything back. So, God damn it, Horvath.
So me and Horvath joined Delta Chi back in 2008, same time, same semester, and he lived with my best friend Jordan for many years, many places. I went over to their apartment many times, hung out with them, and I said this earlier to a few people, but I can honestly owe everything in my life to him. Back in 2010, he was, I don't know, I think he was working there in 2009 too, but he was working at the Caesars Pool as a lifeguard. And into 2010, they had interviews for pool host and lifeguard positions, and he gave me a slip that I could bring in for an interview with Katie Parkhouse, who was the assistant manager at the time. And he said, I talked to her, you've got the first interview for the day, just go in and make a good impression. And I went in there and I talked to Katie for a little bit. She asked me a couple questions, asked me about Delta Chi, how I knew Zach and everything. I remember her saying specifically, so you know Zach Horvath? I said, yeah. It's not necessarily a good thing, but we'll give you a shot. So I started as a pool host, and a couple months later, me and him both transferred over to the food runner position, which opened up everything to us. That pool host position was my foot in the door for Caesars. And when I moved back here, they called me and I had a job with them again. So everything, my fiance, she works at Caesars too, so we have a beautiful child, and so everything in my life is because of him. And I thank you so much. Thank you, Horvath.
So what can I say about Horvath? More importantly, I want to say about him is he was the most kind and generous guy. Many of you, my brothers here, know that when I was living here in Vegas, I had some rough times. And Horvath and Jordan's place was always open for me as a refuge when I needed it. He was always just down for a good time. We were always up to shenanigans, especially in that Delta Chi house. And I can't think of one bad memory I've ever had with Zach. He was just that kind of guy. And I miss him terribly. And the last few years, I've been living elsewhere, and I hadn't seen him in so long, and I regret that now. But I just, we all miss him and love him, and so I just want to be grateful for having him in my life the time I did.
I hired him at a 9 Steakhouse, and I worked with him for, I guess, about 4 years. Yeah. When I'm going to think about Zach, I'm going to remember the most generous man I knew. Damn, thought I was going to make it. It wasn't just, it was generosity of everything, of spirit, of words, of wisdom, of humor. He, just a big-hearted kid, and the world's going to miss him a lot. He was one of the funniest people I've ever met. I've found myself for the past week on multiple occasions picking up my phone to shoot him a text message, and it's always some silly, joke about his beloved Detroit Lions, which I don't know how you love the Detroit Lions, but he did, and or talking about how terrible the Tigers were for letting Scherzer go, and things like that come into your mind, and that's a hole in my heart. I'm not gonna have that guy that's my buddy, I was the little brother, and in a lot of ways I look at him like he was my little brother.
I met Zach 5 years ago at 9 Steakhouse. He was a new bar back coming in. We lost the other bar back, and he started working with us. And first few nights I'm observing who comes in, and in the kitchen where we expedite, usually the bar backs and the back waiters or whatever have to walk back and forth by me. And this guy was walking back and forth a lot, so I knew he wasn't really experienced yet with our restaurant, but he was fast, he was jittery, he was moving and grooving. So I said to the GM at the time, I said, I think we've got a good guy here. I said, he doesn't stop, he's moving. And the GM said to me, he goes, give it some time. You know how these new rookies are when they come in. Let's give it some time. So eventually, after 5 years, I can say he was a rock star. He always performed at that next level, always gracious and humble, and always asked me, how was your day, how was your week, how was your vacation? And funny that it be, I learned tonight what it meant. I had just come back from the Grand Cayman Islands, and my fiance and I, we did something called snuba diving, cross between snorkeling and snoobering. And he said to me, Chef, where'd you go on vacation? He goes, I know you went somewhere, but where'd you go? I said, I went to the Grand Cayman Islands. He goes, what'd you do? What'd you do exciting? And I said, we went snuba diving. So he looks at me and he said, that's for babies. And he just walked away. And I was so busy, I couldn't say, hey, what do you mean that's for babies, right? And I didn't know what he meant by it. And I meant to ask him later on that night, what the hell did you mean? And then today I find out that he was a master diver. And now I know what it means. But it was just his persona of just life was he was always happy. Oh, we chopped it up every day about sports. I would always say that I knew what was on the books because I'm the chef, right? But I always wanted to get a reaction out of him. I would say, Zach, what's on the books tonight? And he'd say maybe 100, 150. I go, busy night. He's like, piece of cake, right? And then when he'd be running back and forth during the middle of the night, I go, Zach, how's that piece of cake tasting right now? He goes, can't talk, chef, I gotta go. And he'd come back with 5 or 6 wine bottles running up to the front. But my favorite memory of him is that just his smile, his happiness as a true, genuine person. He's a great kid, man. He's a kid like my little brother. I mean, we're family. We worked 5 years together. That's a special thing. When you can stay in a business for 5 years, and we were all close internally. When you work in a restaurant, and a pretty famous restaurant, and you're always busy, you're always together. You're together more with your employees, your co-workers, than you are with your family sometimes. We were always together, all of us, from the front of the house to the back of the house. I never seen him down. I always seen him happy. When I see people that are always happy, on my days when I'm down or having a bad day and I see somebody smile with laughter and joy, you can look at that person, you can say, hey, life isn't that bad. Put a smile on your face. So when you see other people that smile and laugh, you become happy. You know, being that we were all like family, and if you're having a bad day, and if I ever saw Zach, my day would become happy. He always put a smile on my face. We shared sports stories, we shared cooking stories, we shared the business. We talked. And I don't really get close to the front of the house workers. But I had a special piece for Zach in my heart. He was a great kid, and we lost one of the good people on this earth. But hopefully I'll see him someday. Another great thing about Zach was I was able to meet his mother. His mother's Marlene's a wonderful woman, and she was Zach's biggest fan, and vice versa. Beautiful woman, and she always has a home wherever I'm at with me. All my best and my deepest condolences to the family.
We walked in, I remember, to Nine Steakhouse right in the beginning, and him and Roberto were the first 2 people I saw, and he waved and smiled and said, welcome. And then I remember the manager saying, this is a new cocktail waitress, and he was just overall very welcoming and saying, yeah, you'll be working with me, show me how sometimes we've been really busy, and I've been like, Zach, I need your help, and then he's just dropped everything, and it's like, all right, we'll get this done at work. And as soon as I'd walk in, he'd be like, he cared to know how I was. And if I was stressed out, upset, he'd want to know why. And that was a really big, important part. And overall, being the first person in Las Vegas to say, hey, come out with us, you know, you feel like family, I want you here, and join us, you know, like we do this, you know, a few times a week, and it's a great outing, and I'd like for you to come. To be the very first person to ever say that in this town was just a really big impact for me.
So myself and my friend Andrew Menudo, we recruited him heavily in our fraternity from his senior year in the summer all the way up until fall. We were at it was Halloween night, and he was dressed up as Stacey Jax, and I was dressed up as Kanye West. We had our friend Kyle Opolinski, Jordan Lown, we were all there, and there was there was a performer, Stacey Jacks, who was also there as well, because we had went to go see Rock of Ages, the show. And so when we were there, he's a little intoxicated. He starts running out into the floor, and he tries to pick a fight with this guy. He's like, "Hey, I'm the real Stacey Jacks," because he had the perfect costume. The other guy's costume was lame. They're like, "Yo, what's up with this guy? Like his costume's not even on point. He's just kind of doing whatever." And so he made a big, huge deal about it. And he's pushing the guy, and the guy's like so sorry for no reason. And then he ends up comping Zach 2 tickets to the show. It was hilarious. And then we told that story probably about like 3 months after that. It was the best. Another time I'd have to say is when we went to a Lions game. We drove up to San Francisco. I had drove separately. He had drove with my friend Kyle Opolinski. On the way there, my car, I get pulled over because my license or registration is expired. So a cop, he takes my license plate. And so I drive there, and I'm driving around San Francisco with no license plate. So I think to myself, oh, I need to get a U-Haul. And so I got a U-Haul and a hitch to hook up to my car so I could drive it. As soon as he gets there, he just starts making fun of me. He's like, "Yo, Snaps, what's with this huge rig that you have going on? You have like a 30-foot rig going on for this tiny little car." He's like, "How did you even acquire all of this stuff?" And I was just, it was such a horrible trip at the start, and he just made it that much better. Even when we lost the game, it was Sunday night football. He knew people, and he got us down in the field. We took pictures on the field. It was awesome. It was insane. The seats were really great. He had picked the seats, even though we both paid for the tickets. He picked the seats. Perfect setup. And he also almost got in a fight that game too. So it was San Francisco. And he said the ref's been blowing the game all day. He's been on his knees. And then somebody quipped back, "That's where the Lions suck." And he's like, "Well, you're from San Francisco, so you're all on your knees." I mean, we lived together for so long. We used to watch TV together, we used to eat together, everything. Play board games, just do simple things. He made me a better person. That was my little brother, ultimately. And I tried my best to look after him. And I guess in the end, I wasn't able to watch over him all the way. But he will forever be my little brother. I'll always love him.
He was just the most kind-hearted, funniest person I ever met. Every day, every shift he went in, he's always smiling, always made you crack up over the silliest things. His major shift was so much easier. He was kind of like the life of the party. There's certain things that he did you just can't say on camera. That make us all laugh, but it's something we hold dear to us.
He always made Russian jokes with me because I'm Bulgarian. So yeah, so KGB, Zach, that's Pinoni.
Yeah, he's just a funny guy at work. You know, he'd make you laugh, how bad your day was. You'd go in, you'd look at him, you're like, okay, and he would say something funny just right off the top of his head, and he'd make you laugh.
Same thing, he's so kind-hearted, so funny, and we were both from Michigan, so we shared like the whole sports story together, and he would always tell us how bad Michigan was and how Detroit sucks and everything else. We always stick up for, no it doesn't, we always stick up for each other, so I will live that for him. That Detroit's awesome, always.
I mean, you know, Zach was always very funny.
He was a good guy all the time. I'd come into work and he'd be behind the bar, go into the restaurant, and like, "Hey Zach, what's up?" He's like, "Hey Zach, what's up?" That's always a pair of Zachs when we were working. That was our little joke instead of a pair of slacks. But he was a good guy. I was amazed by his ability to comprehend and evaluate all the sports statistics. It's beyond me. I just remember Jameson, Ginger, and 7 spots. Keno 7 spots.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I can't say enough about that guy. He's obviously a great guy, but I think he was comfortable in his own skin a lot of times. You know, we used to give him a lot of stuff, from going to concerts, dressing up for WWE, but at the end of the day, he didn't care. He had a great time, and I think that was awesome of him. Like, you know, that's where I would take it away from him. He was comfortable in his own skin. He didn't care whether people tried to cry. He always had a great time.
Something missing.
Yeah.
Always something funny. Always had something missing.
Exactly.
Let's be out here.
I'm touched by everyone who's been in the case that came here, and also to be friends with Zach. It's just amazing. It's very hard. So I think I just have to congratulate you.
So it seems like Zach touched you guys, a lot of you guys in a positive manner. I just want to thank everyone for coming here. I mean, I know